Born in Palmdale, California, June 20th, 1958, he collected 4 wins in the NASCAR Xfinity Series and 51 in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. He's a 4-time champion in the Craftsman Truck Series, scoring championships in 1996, 98, 2007, and 2009. And he was named one of NASCAR's 75 greatest drivers and is also NASCAR Hall of Famer, class of 2018. Ron Hornaday Jr. is joining us to kick off the show tonight. Ron, welcome. How are you?
I'm good, Miles. It sounds like you've done your homework, buddy.
Yeah, try to make sure we intro our guests as best as we can, and it's a pleasure to have you here. So looking forward to this conversation with you tonight.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be on, and I'm glad you guys do an unbelievable show, and you do your homework, and we don't have to talk about where I came from and what I did my whole life.
So the first question out of the gate I like to always ask, how did you catch the racing bug, Ron?
Well, my father raced against a lot of guys back then, and started motocross, and proceeded to just get into go-karts because I hurt myself in motocross, and we built the family car. I should say, I was working on people's race cars, and when I married my wife, he said, "Why are you working on everybody's car? Why don't you just build your own car?" So that's the perfect wife you can have, make you build your own race car.
Absolutely.
Hey, Ron, before you were winning races in the Truck Series, you were in the Southwest Featherlite Series. I would love to hear about those days. You were a back-to-back champion in the early 90s. We'd just love to hear about your time in the early days of your racing career.
The first championship in 92 was the hardest thing we've ever done in our life. Lindy and I was our first race car we've ever owned together out of our little garage in Palmdale. And we were going down to Phoenix, the last race of it, and there was 3 of us going for the championship, Rick Crowley, Doug George, and myself, and we're all within 6 points of each other. And the night before we were left, my brother-in-law asked me to weld the exhaust on his car, and I didn't have time because I had Victory Circle race cars then, and I had to get my car scaled. We were leaving at 3 o'clock that night in the morning to get down to Phoenix. And I think lap 17 or 18, something come flying through my windshield, and come find out after the race it was my brother-in-law's exhaust pipe. So it broke my little femur bone in my arm, taped the cage and everything. So going in and out of the pits trying to take the windshield and the hood back on, it burned the clutch up. So we lost a lot of laps, about half the race. And in the meantime, Doug George was leading the championship then, and he ended up blowing a motor with 30 to go. And then it gives the championship to Rick Corelli, and it comes for the white flag. Rick Corelli blows the right rear tire. And he ended up, it was probably 8 or 10 car wreck on the front straightaway. And by that time, we were already back out on the track and stopped about 3 feet from the start-finish line. And the guys will stand on the wall and say, push it across the line, push it across the line. I jumped in the car and fired it up. Well, being with no transmission, no clutch in it, it wouldn't go. So I pushed it across the line. And I said, what'd you guys do that for? He said, well, we won a championship, but we don't have no DNF. So, long story short, we put every dime we ever had into that race, and just an emotional day of every penny Lindy and I have ever put in just to do this. And said, we'll never race for another championship. That was the hardest thing we ever done. And following year, we won the first 3 or 4 races, and it just paid for its own self. That's how we got back-to-back champions.
Wow. So, a gentleman that certainly helped you early on in your career was Dale Earnhardt. Talk to us about running for Dale in the Truck Series from 95 to 99 and Xfinity in 2000. And I do believe there is a story about you crashing on his couch for a period of time.
Nope.
No.
Nope. Kevin Harvick and Jimmy Johnson stayed on our couch.
I knew I might have been wrong on that. But talk to us about running for Dale.
Just had my shop in California doing race cars, building Victory Circle race cars, and we had an auto repair store. And we ran the Winter Heat down there, and it's the only thing on Sundays. And I guess it caught the eye of Dale Earnhardt, and he gave me a call that Monday. I flew out that Wednesday. He picked me up from the airport, and he showed me his little farm and said, go in there and see Doug Richards, and you're driving for me. So we went back to Tucson and won the last race, sold my race car there, and then I moved out in 94, and Lindy sold the businesses and came out in 95.
Ron, early in the Truck Series, I mean, the competition had to be some of the best we've ever seen between yourself, Jack Sprague, Mike Skinner. Do you have to elevate yourself mentally and as a driver just to be able to compete with some of the best in the series?
It wasn't only that, man. You had Joe Rutland. You've had so many different people just trying to make a name for themselves, all short track racers. Hell, we even had Walker Evans, off-road racer coming out there. So we've had everybody trying to make these races. And they used to start 43 trucks and send 7 or 8 or 10 home. So I think NASCAR's really pushed it with the Richard Petty's and the Childresses and everything to put a truck on the track to make this series competitive. And it did. I mean, you had to be on your A game. When you took the green flag, it was like qualifying every lap. You gotta push it because everybody wanted to win.
So 2001, you had a full season in the Cup Series with A.J. Foyt. Actually, it's funny, one of the first NASCAR drivers I ever met was you up in Loudon at the Souvenir Hauler. I know it wasn't a great year for you in 2001, but what did it mean to run in the Cup Series for the season and run for A.J. Foyt?
A.J., everybody said he was a hard guy to work for because, he's so tough and he's no different than working for my dad. I mean, they just want results. And we weren't getting the results we needed. And he's always blamed me. And, when they come to find out, when AJ doing his shop out there and out here in North Carolina, and he's living in Texas, he never knew what was going on in the shop. So when he found out we didn't have a new race car, but just a new body, he really come unglued. So after the whole fact we were all done and said we had another year to go, we kind of split ways so I can keep racing. But one of the family members, I think he beat his ass just because he got lied to quite a bit by somebody who was doing something with some money around there.
Ron, it's apparently widely known that Butch Miller may have had the first ever burnout, but according to my research, you may have had an accidental one a few races before Butch Miller. Do you want to take any credit for having the celebration of a burnout instated into NASCAR?
I'm kind of ashamed of it because, I got yelled at and got fined a lot from Earnhardt because of his wear and tear on the trucks.
Oh, no.
But I think some of the guys say that I was the first one to do it. I didn't know anything about Butch other than him winning a race and doing it. I don't know. I'm not going to take credit, but it's pretty awesome if I did.
So 4 championships in the Truck Series. Obviously, 2 early on in 96, 98. 07 and 09 were special as well because in 07 it was your 3rd championship, overtaking a 29-point lead over Mike Skinner. You and Mike were actually both down in North Wilkesboro this season when they had the first Truck Series race back from there. What's it like to really have a connection with a guy like Mike Skinner? And talk to us about maybe that 07 championship a little bit.
Well, the trucks really changed from when we started, when I raced for Kevin from Earnhardt days. We go back to the short track racing with a 1,000-pound right front spring and, hillbilly it where you got a stiffer spring on the left front to make the thing turn. And then the Kevin's truck was all about aerodynamics, quarter inch off the ground, scraping the balance all the way, going to bigger racetracks than what we're used to. When the Truck Series started, we weren't going to go over a mile racetrack. And then, 3 years later, we passed their 10-year plan because the trucks were so successful. And we went to the bigger racetrack. So it's definitely different. And Mike and I had a weird relationship. We raced hard. We both came pretty close to racing each other in the California days, but we really didn't know it because he only raced Station Marin once in a while, and I raced there all the time. But with him racing for Childress and me racing for Earnhardt, we couldn't do the things we did to Jack Sprague and stuff like that. We respected each other on the track. We never wrecked each other. We just raced hard, and that's what the Truck Series was all about.
IRP seems to be the most successful track for you on the NASCAR circuit between trucks and Xfinity. What about Indianapolis Raceway Park really suited Ron Hornaday's driving style?
Well, I come from Saugus Speedway. It's a 3rd mile flat, up-cambered 3 and 4. You got to really roll the corners, and that's where ORP or IRP, whatever you want to call it, change it 4 times over Raleigh Raceway Park. Then you run right up against the fence. You really drive it in there, you let the thing drift up and get a quarter inch, half inch off the wall, kind of like a Darlington. So, I don't know, I just enjoyed it. I forgot what year it was, but we had the Ream car there, and we had Longhorn. We won the truck race, and we were leading the nationwide race after the next day, and I think there was 3 laps to go, and a lap car cut a tire or something, got in front of me, and I jumped over his rear tire and landed on top of the fence and flipped Kevin's car. So that's the one I remember the most.
2009, you won your fourth Camping World Truck Series championship, joining the likes of Jeff Gordon, Richard Petty, Dale Earnhardt, and Jimmy Johnson as the only drivers to win 4 more titles in one of the 3 major series of NASCAR. And you were the first driver since Greg Biffle in 2000 to clinch the title before the last race. What did it mean to you to join names like Earnhardt, Petty, Gordon, and what does it mean to you today?
I mean, I can't compare anything. I mean, I didn't race to make a name for myself. I raced to put food on the table. I mean, that was my job. Getting in the Hall of Fame and all that stuff. That's so cool. I mean, that's for my grandkids and everybody remember me by. But I just was the guy that wanted to do the best job I can because I got a percentage of what the truck won or the car won, whatever I drove, and that put food on the table. So to look back on it and wear that the Hall of Fame shirt and go down there and watch all the inductees and listen to their stories, and it's amazing how we all started basically from the same way. Wanting to do it, changing your brakes on your own personal car, and then just learning about your race car and go on. So I think the best thing about my whole career, which really turned me upside down, was the phone call my wife knew about and for about a week, and Mr. France gave me a buzz. And the week before, I got in trouble at a racetrack and kind of chewed an official off. And we had a heated moment at the racetrack, and I figured Mr. France was going to call me and find me, and it's like, oh, Lindy, don't look at me. I mean, Mr. France is going to chew my butt out. And come to find out, he said such a story about me that he remembered back in the days, what put tears in my eyes and made me want to think about racing again. So that was pretty special to have Mr. France call me and put me in the top 75 greatest drivers in NASCAR.
Do you have any retirement advice for Kevin Harvick?
Oh, he ain't going to retire. He's going to retire from driving, but he's got his hands full with Keelan Harvick, and he just hired Landon Lewis over there, so he's going to be busy.
So you mentioned Landon Lewis, of course, one of the guests on our show. Of course, we had a group of the Team Hornaday development drivers on over the late spring and early summer. What's it mean to work with these kids nowadays and have an impact on their futures?
Oh, well, I'm going to give all the credit to my daughter. I mean, Landon came to us. His dad put him through racing since he was 4 years old, the go-karts and everything, and got him to run a little truck at his great-grandpa, his grandpa, his dad, and him ran Myrtle Beach. And they wanted to put him in the last 2 races just as they got 4 generations to run Myrtle Beach. Then they brought him to me at the age of 12, and we put him in a dirt car, and it's like, man, the kid's got so much talent. The 3rd race out, he won, the youngest driver to ever win in the SECA Series. So we took a liking to Landon, and he's just a polite kid. He lived with my daughter, or still living with my daughter for 2 years, and just meeting the right people and doing the right thing. So I think I pushed him far enough I can. So it's Kevin's turn to help out. He knows a lot more. How do you say it? More demeanor with the sponsors and how to handle all that. Where I'm still rough around the edges. I'm just a Saturday night racer, and I'll go beat a piece of metal out and weld it and put it back together. But you got to be polished. And what Canada does with these young kids right now is, make sure their fire suits are zipped up for their sponsors, and make sure they're polite. And when they go out to eat, make sure their napkins on their lap, and make sure they take their hat off. So I give all the praise to my daughter for all that, and it's going to make a lot of great drivers come out of Joe Ryan race cars and Hornaday development.
Excellent. So wrapping up here, we've had 4-time Cup Series, Craftsman Truck Series champion Ron Hornaday Jr. That is a tongue twister. Ron Hornaday Jr. joining us. Ron, what's going on these days for you besides hanging out and enjoying retired from racing life?
Still putting seats in race cars. Keelan's growing so fast, I've already put 3 seats in his cars, and I got another one coming down next week. Build a street stock for one of my police officer buddies. My wife's got an antique store that I build. I take gas cans and make them into benches and chairs and whatever, and fire pits. Just stay busy, trying to stay young, making a little bucks.
Excellent.
But let's rephrase that. You say 4-time champion in NASCAR. I'm a 7-time champion because our first local track turned to NASCAR that year in 79, or 89. And then I won the 2 Southwest Tours with a NASCAR. So you can put me with Earnhardt and Petty, 7-time champion. How's that?
I like that.
And Jimmy.
Final question I've got for you. When it's all said and done and your time's up, how do you, Ron Hornaday, want to be remembered to the racing fans?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, just hopefully everybody knows that my word's my word, and my honesty. I try to race everybody as clean as I can, and I'm a hard-nosed racer. I mean, I'll move you out of the way, but I won't wreck you. But if it wasn't for the fans, we wouldn't be able to do what we did. And I still enjoy it. I love going to help Saturday night racing. You know, everybody wants me to come in there and do autographs and give me a free pit pass, but I'd rather pay for the pit pass just to help support the local Saturday nighters.
Absolutely. Been joined here by Ron Hornaday Jr. to kick off the show tonight.